Assalamu alaikum. Ahlan wa sahlan.
Good afternoon and welcome.
Buenas tardes. Bienvenidos y bienvenidas.
Bonjour et bienvenue.
Good afternoon.
Paris, summer 1870. You're walking in the streets close to the Champs-Élysées. It's a very hot summer with temperatures over 38 degrees. Paris looks familiar and very different at the same time. There aren't any planes in the sky, no cars around you, only carriages pulled by thirsty horses. Paris is then the second biggest city in the world with over 2 million people. You keep walking. On the facade of the building, any building, you could see this poster. If you're able to read it, it means you belong to the 30% of people who actually can read. And it also means you're fairly young. In 1870, the average life expectancy was 40 years. But that summer, when this poster was put up on a wall in the street, it dropped to 25 years. France was at war with Germany.
This poster sends a new and powerful message. In 1862, 8 years before it was put up in the street, Henri Dunant published A Memory of Solferino. Created in 1863, the International Committee of the Red Cross was just still very new. And in 1864, the Société de Secours aux Blessés Militaires was officially recognized by the French state, thus becoming one of the first national societies. The poster reads, "May the brave hearts unite and contribute to this great humanitarian work, to save as many of our wounded as possible, to rescue the widows and orphans of those who died for their country, and to support the courage of our brave soldiers."
So, in less than a decade, bold new steps had been taken to define and structure humanitarian action. Anissa, I imagine that this war in 1870 was one of the first major challenges for the fairly new humanitarian sector. From your perspective as an international humanitarian law scholar, how would you say that this simple poster actually marks a decisive moment in history?
Well, this poster is a reminder of one of the core principles of humanitarian law, the principle of humanity. Indeed, in 1864, the first Geneva Convention was drafted, and it required states to collect the wounded and sick soldiers in the battlefield. But not only those soldiers of their own nationality, but all soldiers, irrespective of their nationality, because they were human beings in need of help. Pascal, this poster was produced in 1870. On my way to the conference center, I saw many of at least 30 posters in the street. From your point of view, as a director of the museum, what makes the poster different from those we can see today?
Well, actually, there is no difference. I mean, posters aren't produced the same way, and we don't look at them the same way. But then and now, posters are still sheets of paper put up on the walls of our streets. This is actually the oldest poster we keep in the collections of the International Red Cross and Red Crescent Museum. Back then, in 1870, during that very hot summer, of course, nobody imagined that one day it would find its way into the collections of an international museum. But now that it has, it tells us so much, not only about the Red Cross and Red Crescent movement itself, but also, of course, about the time and culture in which it was created.
And I could imagine something else hasn't changed, humanitarian principles. What was true then is just as valid today. Of course, over the years, international humanitarian law has become a rich body of norms. But both then and now, its core objective is to protect the victims of armed conflict.
So the International Red Cross and Red Crescent Museum keeps over 10,500 of such posters, and most of them were collected by the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies. So to celebrate its 100th anniversary this year, we are now going to read the humanitarian principles through a selection of posters which Anissa and I picked amongst this very impressive collection. So let's begin.
This first poster was produced in Togo in 1987. It reads, "Wanted for its principles, a unique face inspired by the 7 fundamental principles." And it gives a list of all the 7 principles. Humanity is at the very core of humanitarian action and the source of all the other principles. The International Red Cross and Red Crescent movement, born of a desire to bring assistance without discrimination to the wounded on the battlefield, endeavors in its international and national capacity to prevent and alleviate human suffering wherever it may be found.
Its purpose is to protect life and health and to ensure respect for the human being. It promotes mutual understanding, friendship, cooperation, and lasting peace amongst all peoples. So, we now move to New Zealand in 1945, where this poster was presented as part of an exhibition of the Junior Red Cross. Its simple design carries out a very clear message based on the principle of impartiality.
The movement makes no discrimination as to nationality, race, religious beliefs, class, or political opinions. It endeavors to relieve the suffering of individuals, being guided solely by their needs, and to give priority to the most urgent cases of distress. Back to the 1980s, 1981 to be exact, this time in Germany. The graphic designer imagined a minimalist ambulance on an abstract background to talk about the Geneva Conventions with the following text: "The right to protection, the duty to assist, humanity marked by neutrality."
For instance, in order to continue to enjoy the confidence of all, the movement may not take sides in hostilities or engage in any time in controversies of political, racial, religious, or ideological nature. The fourth principle, independence, is the first to introduce national societies. And here's a beautiful illustration from Egypt.
The movement is independent. The national societies, while auxiliaries in the humanitarian services of their governments and subject to the laws of their respective countries, must always maintain their autonomy so that they may be able at all times to act in accordance with the principles of the movement. Here is a powerful call to action from the British Red Cross, a perfect poster for voluntary action. The principle says, "It is a voluntary relief movement not prompted in any manner by desire for gain."
This poster, produced in 1920, shows a Red Cross nurse standing next to Helvetia, the embodiment of Switzerland, a fitting image for the principle of unity. There can be only one Red Cross or one Red Crescent society in any one country. It must be open to all. It must carry on its humanitarian work throughout its territory. And finally, universality, which we chose to illustrate with this very poetic blood donation poster from Poland.
The International Red Cross and Red Crescent movement, in which all societies have equal status and share equal responsibilities and duties in helping each other, is worldwide.
So, Anissa, I think we've now set the stage and we are ready to hand out the first award of tonight's ceremony. To introduce it, we looked for a poster which would really best represent the idea of youth, and I think this 1956 poster from Pakistan does a pretty good job.
It does indeed celebrate youth. So does the Youth on the Move Award, which was initiated by the International Federation's Youth Commission. The first IFRC Youth Award was launched in 2005 around the theme Youth Protecting Human Dignity. Over the years, we have seen the award grow and evolve. The 2019 award, like in previous years, covers 4 categories. 1, healthy youth make a healthy world. 2, climate-smart initiatives. 3, promoting social inclusion and culture of nonviolence and peace. 4, protecting humanity along the migration trails.
So, to announce the 2019 recipients and to hand out the award, it is our great pleasure and honor to call on stage Francesco Rocca, President of the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, El Haj Assi, Secretary General of the IFRC, Lamas Khour, Vice Chair of the IFRC Youth Commission, as well as the award recipients. Perfect. So, President Rocca, Secretary Assi, Vice Chair Khour, the floor is yours.
Dear friends and colleagues, yesterday I had the pleasure to address the IFRC Youth Forum and to meet the youth representatives coming from all around the world to Geneva to participate to our statutory meetings and to elect their own representatives in the IFRC Youth Commission. Allow me to say that I feel honored to chair the first General Assembly that will include such an important moment and achievement for our youth. Decide themselves their own representatives. And we used to say that youth are the future, but the work I'm carrying out with my fellow colleagues of the governing board is to ensure that youth become more and more a priority of our present to build a better future. And there's a lot to do on this sense. And one of my best memories of the last Solferino event is indeed the joy, the commitment and dedication of the thousands of youth gathered together to celebrate the IFRC anniversary. And this is a treasure that is our responsibility to continue to take care and to feed. And I also take this occasion to thank sincerely the Youth Commission for the commitment and dedication, and I reiterate my commitment as President of the IFRC to leave to the young generation a stronger organization. And for this reason, we decided also to include these awards for the young people, just to underline how important is their role and how important is the national society open really their door to their energy, passion, the dedication in the everyday work. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Secretary General. Today, we are here to celebrate the recognition of recipients of Youth on the Move Award 2019. As agents of change and in the fast-changing world, youth can effectively address the stressing humanitarian challenges with new insights, working with and for vulnerable groups in their local communities, and be in the forefront in our movement humanitarian actions. Since the inception of the Youth on the Move Award in 2005, the award aims to highlight the innovative ideas for projects that address these challenges throughout our communities and to appreciate the significant role and contribution of young people in our movement. As the IFRC Youth on the Move Award is significantly growing, as also what we heard, we will have 4 different categories this year. So I will not list them again, but one on health, on climate change, on social inclusion, culture of nonviolence and peace, and on migration. There were a total of 21 different nominations from 16 different national societies received, and we identified for each category 1 winner and 1 runner-up. We are very encouraged by the response to the awards. Both the winner and the runner-up from each category will receive a laptop computer and a cash reward that will allow these youth groups to actually implement these ideas and projects and to be able to be prepared for the project, to implement it, and for the evaluation of their project. We encourage the awardees to use their laptops in capturing how their project evolves, and also let us know how it is evolving by sharing photos and videos through the Federation social media platforms. We believe innovative ideas that we award here today will be shared widely and also successfully replicated. I'm certain that this initiative will further meaningful youth engagement and set an example for youth all over the world to do more and do better and reach further. I would like to thank also the Secretariat and the regional teams who supported in their technical support in reviewing the awards and contributing towards the cash prizes and the donations of the laptops. So thank you.
Thank you. And now to the awards. It is my great pleasure to announce the Protecting Humanity Along the Migration Trail Award. And the awardees are the Turkish Red Crescent and the Honduran Red Cross societies. So we invite them to come and receive the awards that will be handed over to them by the Vice Chair of the Youth Commission. So congratulations, to the Turkish Red Crescent, Society and Honduran Red Cross Society. And now we will be calling on the Irish Red Cross and the Costa Rican Red Cross societies to receive the award on promoting social inclusion and culture of nonviolence and peace. Ireland and Costa Rica. So the next award is about health, and it is entitled Healthy Youth Will Be Making a Healthy World. And the awardees are the Mozambique Red Cross Society and the Red Crescent Society of Kyrgyzstan. Mozambique and Kyrgyzstan. Some of the best initiatives and on climate initiatives have been also recognized. And the award on climate smart initiatives will go to the Malawi Red Cross Society and the Korean Red Cross Society. Malawi, South Korea. Once again, very warm congratulations to all our awardees. Maybe before we go to the next one, I will take the pleasure, of myself to hand over one award, which is about the use of innovation in engaging and mobilizing, volunteers, including new forms of volunteering, and that will go to the Italian Red Cross and the Kenyan Red Cross. Volunteers always, are at the center of what we do, and particularly in emergency situations, of course, also in non-emergency. But this particular award goes for volunteer management in emergencies and fragile environments, and it goes to the Belarus Red Cross Society and the Malaysian Red Crescent Society. Congratulations. So very warm congratulations, to our youth as well as volunteer recipient there, and now over, to you again.
Well, thank you very much, Secretary General Assi, President Rocca, thank you. I think we are now going to go straight to the Henry Davison Award, having talked about the volunteering, and congratulations again to all the award recipients. This is a beautiful poster we chose from Nigeria to talk about volunteering, which is really the core of the movement, and we have understood through the recipients of this award this evening that indeed it is an essential component of our movement. So thank you very much. Henry Davison, we can now go straight through to the next award. And we'll be watching a beautiful portrait of Henry Davison in a few seconds, I believe. And he is really a key person to remember this evening, as his incredible dedication to the movement and his commitment really federated all the national societies. And this commitment he showed throughout his time is really at the center of the award we are going to hand out now.
The General Assembly in 2003 adopted the establishment and regulations of the Henry Davison Award of the International Federation. The award is given to individuals or national societies who have proven outstanding services to benefit the Federation at large by A, provision of services to improve the lives of vulnerable people, and B, initiatives to build the capacity of national societies, and finally, initiatives to develop the capacity of national societies to work together effectively, thus strengthening the Federation as a whole.
So we now invite the award recipients to join us on stage, and we hand over the floor to you, President Rocca and Secretary General Assi.
Thank you very much. It's my honor now to call upon the awardees for the Henry Davison that will be handed over by President Francesco Rocca. And the first one goes to President Mario Villarroel Lande.
think also Juan Manuel del Toro and Hiroki Tomita to represent the President Konoe. Invite them to come up on the podium. Sorry, we didn't study the protocol, but we will. Distinguished guests, dear Red Cross Red Crescent colleagues and friends, I'm honored to stand here today and to inform the General Assembly about the Governing Board decision to award the former presidents of the International Federation of Red Cross Red Crescent Societies on the occasion of the 100th anniversary of our beloved federation. And the IFRC World Committee and the Governing Board decided to pay tribute to the dedication and commitment of our previous presidents that served our organization to develop a stronger international federation at the service of national society. I'm therefore honored to award Dr. Mario Vilaloé Lander, Juan Manuel Suarez del Toro, and Tadateru Konoe, represented by the Vice President of the Japanese Red Cross, Dr. Hiroki Tomita, with the following motivation. On the occasion of the 100th anniversary, the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies recognizes and expresses gratitude for the excellent services delivered by our former presidents in improving the life of vulnerable people and develop the capacity of national societies to work together effectively to strengthening the Federation as a whole. They have devoted themselves to the International Red Cross and Red Crescent movement. Driven by their humanitarian belief, they have contributed greatly to alleviate suffering and to build a stronger international federation. The IFRC is proud to have been associated with them and to express its sincere appreciation for all their support. So I take this occasion to heartily thank our former president for having embraced our fundamental principle. And in a few seconds, I will leave the floor on Juan Manuel del Toro, but 1 minute after, I will award both of them because we started with one. And now we continue.
Señor presidente de la Federación, señor secretario general,
President of the Federation, Secretary General, former presidents, different authorities of the movement, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor for me to speak to you on behalf of all former presidents of the International Federation, Mr. Mario Villarroel, Mr. Tadateru Konoe, and on my behalf, having received the Henry Davidson Award precisely on the year that we're celebrating the 100th anniversary of the Federation, and we welcome the vision and of our founder, Mr. Davidson. It's a real satisfaction to feel part of the organization of the Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies through the millions of volunteers, members and staff that give their dedication to support those who suffer. The commitment of our volunteers is shared throughout the world every day, which is what makes us proud of our International Federation as a beacon of hope for so many. In the next few days, my friends, you will have the opportunity to debate and approve the priorities that will guide us for the next few years. The increasing urbanization of our societies, the protection of migrants, humanitarian crises, set by natural threats, poverty, violence, social inclusion of those most vulnerable, digital transformation, as well as the new paradigm of climate change will make us all vulnerable without distinction. And that means we need to find the commitment within our movement to find the formula to fight those challenges. Our universality and unity will be more than ever necessary in order to secure a humanitarian action that be impartial, neutral and independent, in order to facilitate the volunteering work and apply our humanity. The strengthening of our national societies with the action of the International Federation and the ICRC are therefore crucial. Finally, and making mine the feelings of the other award winners, Mario and Tadatero, I would like to thank you, all those people, millions around the world that you are representing today and that are contributing with your actions through the different national societies to a better future for everyone. Thank you very much. Shukran. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. The medal will also go to 3 other distinguished friends, and colleagues, and I'm going to be calling them one by one to receive, the award from the president. The next is our dear colleague and friend, Abbas Goulet from the Kenyan Red Cross.
Dr. Abbas Goulet, covered many high-level positions, both at national and international level, and his humanitarian spirit has been guiding him for his entire life. I really feel honored to have had the chance to work with him over the last years and to witness his dedication, commitment, and passion for our Red Cross Crescent family. Dr. Abbas comes from the youth and has always been fighting for the importance of investing in young people. The IFRC awards him with the following motivation. The IFRC recognizes and expresses gratitude for the excellent services delivered by Mr. Abbas Goulet in improving the life of vulnerable people and affected communities inside and outside his country. Mr. Abbas Goulet has devoted himself to the International Red Cross and Red Crescent movement. Driven by his humanitarian belief, he has contributed greatly to alleviate suffering and has brought comfort to those in need through a wide range of humanitarian activity. And the IFRC is proud to have been associated with him and expresses its sincere appreciation for all his support.
May I now invite the head of the delegation of the Burundi's Red Cross Society to come and receive the Henry Davidson medal that goes to Francois Buyoya, who was the President Emeritus of the Burundi Red Cross, also Vice President of the IFRC, member of the Standing Commission and Finance Commission, and is a member also of the Conseil National des Sages, working on justice and social inclusion. I would also like, tonight I have the pleasure and heavy duty to think and remember one of ours who's no longer with us. So she's gone, but she's not dead, because she's living in each of us. Every time we think of her, we hear very loud words, resonating in our midst. And those are about integrity, hope, the service, to humanity. And here, her own words, a number of times, she walked up to me and say, "Us, es ist ein Privileg zu dienen." It's a privilege to serve. A number of times she repeated. A number of times she came forward and said, "Das ist aus Liebe zum Menschen." And we are doing this because of the love to people. The people that are less fortunate than us. And we are in the privileged situation to serve. And this was our colleague, our friend, who will also be championing the rights and the place of women in our federation and in all our decision-making processes. And that was our dear Anne-Marie Uberholz, gone too soon. And it is now my honor and pleasure to invite her husband, her beloved Charles Henry Huber, to receive another medal.
Mr. President, Mr. Secretary General, dear former Vice President, dear Mr. Huber-Holtz, dear delegates, it's very difficult to stand before you to speak this evening, especially after the last applause that has been given to dear one of us who is no longer with us. It was shocking and sad, and I have not said this to Mr. Huber-Holtz, that when we got this news, for me, who had served with the late Anne-Marie for about 4 years as the Vice President of our Federation, the news was devastating to me personally because I had been in touch with Anne-Marie long after we had left our term of office because of something she was passionate about. She had many hats that she was wearing here back home in Switzerland, and one of them was, I know she was involved with tourism fund and education for young people. And through the Swiss ambassador in Kenya, we had worked on the possibility of a program where she would finance a hotel school that we had, but giving scholarship to young people. But Mr. President and dear delegates, I stand before you with a lot of humility this evening to say a journey that began 47 years ago, of 11 years as a volunteer and 36 years as a paid staff, 14 years with IFRC and 22 or whatever number of years with Kenya Red Cross, my society, is a lifetime journey. And in June this year, I had decided with my previous board of the Kenya Red Cross that I will step down as the Secretary General of the Kenya Red Cross Society this December. Very happy to be in this meeting. Today probably should be my last formal meeting within the current setting of what I do. But just to say, especially to the young people who got the award this evening rather, that you can be a youth today and you can be what you want to be tomorrow. I started as a youth volunteer way back in '73 having to do something they call in the UK the Duke of Edinburgh Award, or in Commonwealth countries the President's Award scheme. Young people having to compare or to compete against themselves, against set standards of competition that you can win bronze, silver, and gold award. And you had to do first aid as your first step. And more for me, the association with Red Cross was I needed to learn first aid, and I went to the Red Cross when others would go to St. John's. And today, 47 years later, I've been married to this institution. What this institution has given me and what this institution has shown me around the world is something that I will cherish for the rest of my life, and it's something that no value of money can be put into. But I think President Del Toro said in his last remark this evening, on the whole issue of building national society. For many of you who know me, my passion has been about building national societies. And I think my biggest plea would be for us, of the 192 national societies, even those that will be admitted in the coming day or two, is to say what can we do to change the paradigm shift of having to build new, vibrant, young, independent national societies that are financially and economically dependent on themselves, since the aid industry has drastically changed in our globe. Without having to get into the substance of the discussion of later this week, I just wanted to say that really from where I come from, on the continent of Africa, and I'm sure many other continents, Asia, the Caribbean, Latin America, and the Pacific, there's a lot that we need to do for those of us who have resources to change the paradigm shift from aid-driven support to investment-driven support is what I think as a movement we need to think afresh and think out of the traditional box. Where even ICRC, and I'm happy that President Mora and my brother, the Director General, are here, that for once within this movement, between ICRC, IFRC providing leadership, even if it's not the mandate of ICRC to do strengthening and building of national society, I hope with the developed societies of this world and the two international bodies, we can come together to really rethink afresh with the rest of the world on how can we be the preferred partner of choice globally for humanitarian intervention. I think without further ado, Mr. President, Mr. Secretary General, and dear recipients, God bless this movement, and thank you very much for this award.
Congratulations to you all, to all the award winners
Thank you.
tonight.
You can please join your seats. Thank you very much.
The power of humanity is the theme under which we all gather in Geneva. It can be recognized in an enduring vision that brings us together. It can be recognized here and now, this afternoon, in Geneva, through the incredible accomplishments which we just have celebrated.
And the power of humanity can certainly be recognized in our diversity. It can be recognized in the simple choice we can make to help someone else and to care for someone. And it can also certainly be recognized in art and its capacity to remind us of what really matters. So it is now our great pleasure to invite you to discover an exclusive performance by author Fabrice Melchior, who was inspired by the words of Henry Davison, artist Mariama Silla, editorial cartoonist Patrick Chapat, directed by the Geneva-based festival Antigel. The floor is yours.
name is Patrick Chapat. I am an editorial cartoonist. My job is to look at this crazy, complicated, and dangerous world of ours and try to make sense of it, whenever possible with a smile. For the past 25 years, I have also been a comics reporter. This means going to the field and reporting back using the techniques of graphic novels. I have covered quite a few stories. I have witnessed many dramas. I have met hope and despair. But before all, I have met fellow human beings. The year was 2009. The place quiet and cold and lost, high up in the Caucasus Mountains, South Ossetia. A war had taken place there, just 1 year before my visit. Like many wars, it separated people who used to live side by side. It pitted neighbor against neighbor, one group against the other. Lots of people had to flee the place they were born in. A few elderly Georgians had chosen to stay in their half-destroyed villages, isolated. They were visited from time to time by aid workers, like Natasha and Volodya. Sick and feeling lonely, they were living in their house that they had built with their own hands. The first floor of their house was closed off. It had been closed off since the day their son took his own life there. The boy took his life because he didn't want to fight his neighbors. You see this stretch of street in Guatemala City? This is actually a battlefield. The front line is here, facing you. It is invisible, yet real. The place where I'm standing here is the area of the 18th Street gang. 3 blocks down is Mara Salvatrucha territory, enemy territory. Crossing this line can get you killed. When I went to Guatemala, I think it was 2012, to do a story about the gangs, 17 murders were being committed every day. When you look at the statistics, you see it. Urban violence is a war that does not say its name. A war without any end in sight. In this neighborhood called Mexical, I met José, an ex-gangster. That's not his real name. He lost 35 friends, all of them killed in street battles. José is showing me the spot where he witnessed his first murder. He was 8 years old, had been sent to the store to get some eggs, and a man was shot right there in front of him. When he was 14, he got into some trouble at school. A classmate told him, join the gang. You won't get into any trouble anymore. So he did. He started by killing 5 people. Killing 5 people, that was the ritual of initiation for joining the gang. So I asked Jose, how much money do they give a kid to kill someone? A chicken sandwich menu with medium fries and a soda. That's the cost of a human life.
Qui que tu sois, ceci est ma main, prends-la.
Whoever you are, this is my hand.
C'est une main
Take it.
volontaire,
It's a hand volunteered,
indépendante,
neutral, independent,
impartiale.
impartial.
Elle est à toi.
It belongs to you.
Ce n'est plus ma main.
It's not my
C'est la
hand
tienne.
anymore. It's yours.
Ici, le monde est
Here,
abîmé.
the world is
La
damaged.
fourmi s'étrangle
The
dans ses
ant
besognes,
is
le
crippled
roi
by its tasks.
illustre
The
sa
king
couronne,
polishes his
le
crown with a
chant
laced handkerchief.
Les peuples
The
grondent
world's people
comme les glaciers.
are growling like
Je
glaciers.
m'essouffle.
I'm breathless
Encore.
from loving still.
Ensemble,
Together,
nous habitons le trouble.
disorder is our habitat.
Mais ici,
But here,
c'est la paix.
there is peace.
Je me penche à ma fenêtre et je vois la paix.
I lean out of my window and I see peace, with its schools and its
Avec le
pigeons,
serpent des tramways,
its snaking
le
tramways,
grillage design des bureaux,
the designer grid of empty
les arbres
offices,
solennels qu'on
the
torche
solemn
hache,
trees, botched felt with an
enfant
axe.
court
A
derrière
child
une bulle de savon.
runs after a bubble.
Ici, nos affaires,
Here,
nos attentes,
our business,
nos visages.
our expectations, our faces.
Je serai purement volontaire,
I'll be purely voluntary, neutral, independent,
impartial.
impartial.
Je serai de l'urgence
I'll be
et du
there
soulagement.
for the emergency and the relief. I'll have
Seul geste,
1,000 consolations and one pure gesture. I'll be from the field. I'll be on the line. I'll be under the punches.
ta tête,
I'll protect your head by exposing mine.
Je serai la blessure qui s'ouvre sur ta peau.
I'll be the wound that opens in your skin like a chasm the whole world sinks into.
qui que tu sois. Ceci
Whoever
est ma main.
you may be, this is my hand. Take
C'est
it.
une main volontaire,
It's a hand, volunteered, neutral, independent, impartial.
elle est à toi.
It belongs to you.
Ce n'est plus ma main,
It's
c'est
not
la
my
tienne.
hand anymore, it's yours.
Ici, le monde
Here.
est abîmé,
The world is damaged,
mais j'ai cette main.
but I have this hand and
Et ce
this
serment.
and this pledge.
In 2010, Nairobi, the capital city of Kenya. But it could be any other metropolis in the world. It's a universal story. It's a story you know. It's about privileged people living behind their secure walls in fear. And it's about the others, the majority, the people living outside the wall. I was staying in a pretty comfortable compound. Bruno was the night guard. I asked him to show me his place. So one morning at dawn, when his shift was over, we walked together. His commute, a 2-hour walk to his home. the slum. Kibera is one of the largest slums in the world, and this is what Main Street looks like. It's not pavement you see on the ground, it's trash. So you can imagine the smell. This woman, Rose, she was waiting for me to give me a tour of her hometown. So we went to her shack, and I met her daughter, Nancy. Impeccably elegant, like women always manage to be, whatever the circumstances. Nancy was lucky she had a job as a teacher, making $45 a month. She looked at me and she asked, "Have you heard of flying toilets?" Flying toilets? This is the principle. It's very simple. She told me, we don't have sanitation in Kibera, so you do your thing in a plastic bag and you just throw it overhead. These are the living conditions in the slums. This is how people live on the other side of the wall. This is a country that seems so peaceful, a land of olives, spices, almond trees. But danger lurks into this landscape. Seeds have been sown. These seeds are made of metal. Instead of giving life, they take it away. They are cluster munitions. We are in southern Lebanon in 2009. 2.5 years after a war with Israel that left thousands of unexploded cluster munitions spread all over the place, turning the whole area into one giant minefield. Farmers, kids, people going about their lives, step on them, and these things explode. You see, wars do not end when they're over. Long after the ceasefire, they continue to hurt and kill. In a village of the region, I meet Rasha, a young woman of 19. In Rasha's case, it's the bomb that came to her right into her house. The father had come home with a sack of thyme leaves, which he had spent the day gathering. The family makes bunches of them to sell. Everyone was gathered around the sack. When Rasha plunged her hand, she felt something cold. The whole family could have been killed. But only Rasha was hurt. The bomb took her left leg.
Chaque homme porte la
Every
forme
man
entière de l'humaine
carries the entire form of human
La
condition.
fréquentation d'autrui
Keeping company with others contributes to the formation of the self.
se trouve autant de
There
différences de
is
nous
as
et
much
nous-mêmes
difference between us and ourselves as between us and others.
que je ne suis pas capable de choisir.
As I'm not capable of choosing,
Le choix d'autrui.
I make the choice of others.
14 millions de volontaires
14 million
Croix-Rouge
volunteers
du Crescent
from the Red Cross and Red Crescent
prennent le choix
make
d'autrui.
the choice of others.
Ils disent
They say,
je serai
I'll
purement
be
volontaire,
purely voluntary,
neutre,
neutral,
indépendant,
independent,
impartial.
impartial.
Qui que tu sois,
Whoever you may be,
est ma main.
this is my hand.
Prends-la.
Take it.
C'est une main
It's a hand
volontaire,
volunteered, neutral,
indépendante.
independent,
Elle est à
impartial.
toi,
It belongs to
ce n'est
you.
plus ma main,
It's not my hand
c'est la
anymore.
tienne.
It's yours.
À cet instant,
At
dans
this
l'angle
moment,
du silence, sous
in
une
an
ampoule
angle
blanche
of
qui
silence under a bare, swaying light bulb,
mange chaud.
someone is eating a hot
À
meal.
cet instant, dans une
At
autre
this
vallée,
moment, in another valley,
quelqu'un reçoit la visite d'un cœur
someone
fertile.
is visited by
À cet
a
instant,
generous heart.
on prend d'une veine un
At
peu de
this
sang
moment,
que l'on destine à
from
d'autres.
one vein, some blood is being taken
À
to
cet
give to
instant,
other veins.
dans
At
les
this
voiles
moment,
épais de l'avenir,
behind the dense veils of the
quelqu'un
future,
prévient une catastrophe.
someone is preventing a disaster.
À cet instant,
At this moment,
accueille un inconnu
someone
dans sa
is
propre
welcoming
langue.
a stranger in their own language.
Le mot
They're teaching them
somnambule,
the word
le mot
sleepworker,
printemps,
sleepwalker, the word spring,
survie.
the word survival.
À cet instant,
At this moment,
quelqu'un reçoit les premiers secours.
someone is getting first aid.
À cet instant,
At this
une
moment,
cellule s'ouvre,
a cell is opening. Men are standing
ils sont
against a
couverts
wall.
de cendres,
They're covered in ashes.
plus rien ne sort.
Nothing emerges from them anymore.
Vient
Someone
et s'assoit
comes
près d'eux.
and sits near them.
Il prend le choix d'autrui.
That person is making the
Quelqu'un
choice of others.
Dans la banlieue de Kaboul,
Someone in
joue
the
au
suburbs
basketball
of
en chaise
Kabul
roulante.
is playing basketball in a
Et
wheelchair,
quelqu'un l'applaudit.
and someone
La
applauds
forme
them.
entière
That
de
person
l'humaine
carries the entire form of human
Quelqu'un
condition.
trouve un téléphone dans la mer.
Someone finds a telephone in the sea.
Quelqu'un te protégera.
Someone will protect you.
Quelqu'un identifie un soldat.
Someone
et prévient sa
identifies a
famille.
soldier, someone tells their
Quelqu'un
family.
apporte un message.
Someone brings a
Quelqu'un
message.
porte un mort.
Someone carries a dead
Une
body.
femme accroupie accouche
A
dans
squatting
les bras
woman
de
gives birth
quelqu'un.
into the hands of someone.
Je vois briller un phare
I see
d'humanité.
a beacon of humanity shining.
C'est ton phare.
It's your
Il est
beacon.
à toi.
It belongs to you.
Une croix rouge,
Keeper of the light, custodian,
un
a red
croissant
cross.
rouge.
Keeper of the light, custodian, a red crescent.
Ne heurte pas le récif.
So the ships won't get wrecked on the reef.
Il est à
It's
toi.
your beacon. It
Disait
belongs
à
to
sa
you,
façon Henry
as
Davidson.
Henry Davison said in his own way.
The year is 2001. 2 weeks after the September 11 attacks, I am back in New York. And this is what Ground Zero looks like. It's a constant sound of excavators, metal screeching, and this strange smell, a mix of burning tires and hot stones. I know this neighborhood. I lived 3 blocks from there. I had a ritual every day. I would lie on my back and look up at the Twin Towers. You could see them vanish into the sky. In the downtown hospital closest to Ground Zero, I meet the chief medic, Dr. Logan. He saw the towers falling right outside his window. And he told me this: a disaster of such a magnitude is hard to grasp, even when you see it with your own eyes. But if you take one person, he said, like this patient he had been following for 10 years. He knew his parents, he knew his wife, he knew his kids. Only then, he said, do you really realize. Disasters are not only facts, figures, statistics. They are always an individual story, a human story. Switzerland has peaks and peaks, snowy peaks. This means avalanches. In early 1999, I was one of the very first to take this road after it had reopened. It had taken 3 days for workers to dig through this huge mass of snow. That winter, 2 avalanches had struck near the village of Evelyn, taking with them trees and rocks and houses. 17 people were killed. Okay, not a disaster of the scale of those which claim thousands of lives every year, but this was the closest I have come to seeing the sheer power of nature. It was surreal, obscene. Dantesque is the word that I heard from a first responder, those people who rush to the scene and look for survivors. His name was Jacques, a doctor and a mountain guide. And he told me something that rescuers will not easily admit. He said he was scared. Jacques couldn't help but think of that other place where the avalanche had struck 3 times the same spot. As he was searching for bodies, he was aware of the giant dark wall of the mountain looming behind him. He couldn't help but wonder, what noise would it make if it happened again? He was also praying that he would not be the first one to find something. First aid, CPRs, autopsies, he knows all about them. That's his job. But not this. Finding a cold hand buried in the snow, nothing prepares you for this. Disasters are always an individual story, a human story.
On the facade of the Hotel Regina at number 2, Place des Pyramides in Paris, there is a plaque that reads, at the Hotel Regina, on Sunday, the 5th of May, 1919, the Red Cross Societies of the United States, France, Great Britain, Italy, and Japan founded the League of Red Cross Societies, which became the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies. I'll be from every country in the world. I'll be in the theatre of operations. The statue of renunciation I will tear down with my bare hands. I'll be with the wounded. I'll be with those who are suffering. I'll be with those who are saved. I'll be with the living. I'll be purely voluntary. I'll be a cross, a crescent, red. I'll be the words spoken by Henry Davison 100 years ago. I'll be the dust and blood, and I'll be the look on the faces of children. I'll be the look on the faces of parents. I'll be the faraway look, rejected by eyes that someone has closed. In my mouth, I'll have only the instinct that grows into a murmur. No lofty words will fate me with flowers. I'll have the words that come in the theatre of operations, in the rubble of renunciation. I'll have those words. The words asking for a bandage, scissors, a survival blanket. When there's a war on, who is the enemy? And when there's peace? When peace is all around, the world brims with blissful images. The daily life becomes motherly. It's like a feeding bottle. In times of war, peace becomes perfect. Off-screen, it shines with the hope it deposits within us, layer by layer. The naive marshes we wade in, carrying weapons. But to make the dream of peace come true, we must drown it in detonations, in the small actions that heal and save. We must forget it in the ever-repeating death and pain after pain. When we can no longer see peace ahead, it ends up tainting our ambitions. Whoever you may be, this is my hand. Take it. It's a hand volunteered, neutral, independent, impartial. It belongs to you. It's not my hand anymore. It's yours. I think other people don't exist. I think other people are me, as much as you.
This was really beautiful and inspiring. Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Thank you for this beautiful performance. I think we can give them another round of applause. Thank you very much. Anissa, someone is watching us, an incredible woman, an extremely inspiring woman. Next year in 2020, we'll be celebrating the 200th anniversary of her birth. Did you know that she was a pioneer in infographics? And she was an extremely versatile author who invested so much time, energy, and talent in promoting social reforms and in making sure medical knowledge was accessible to everyone. Of course, she's also remembered as the founder of modern nursing, and we are now going to celebrate those who follow in her footsteps.
The Florence Nightingale Medal is attributed every 2 years by the International Committee of the Red Cross on proposal made to it by National Red Cross and Red Crescent societies. It may be awarded to nurses or voluntary nursing aides who have distinguished themselves in time of peace or war. They were nominated by National Red Cross or Red Crescent societies and selected by a commission comprised of the ICRC, the International Federation of the Red Cross and Red Crescent societies, and the International Council of Nurses.
In 2019, 29 nurses from 19 countries were awarded the Florence Nightingale Medal, which they received from national societies. I'm very sorry to say that 3 nurses received it posthumously, having lost their lives while performing their humanitarian duties. So let us celebrate and honor their memory and celebrate all the laureates with this short film.
These are amazing healthcare workers who work day and night to care about their patients. Please give them a big hand for their immense selfless contribution.
We are now going to give the Red Cross and Red Crescent Prize for Peace and Humanity. Conferred in extraordinary circumstances, the Red Cross and Red Crescent Prize for Peace and Humanity is a movement award to recognize efforts of a movement component or an individual to build a more peaceful world through humanitarian action and the dissemination of the ideals of the movement. It was instituted by the Council of Delegates in 1987 to celebrate national societies or individuals that have gone beyond their call of duty in working for true peace. This is the fourth time in its history that the prize is awarded.
The Standing Commission selects candidates based on concrete accomplishments which are inspired by the program of action of the Red Cross as a factor of peace, adopted by the World Red Cross Conference on Peace in 1975, and by the fundamental guidelines for the contribution of the Red Cross and Red Crescent movements to a true peace in the world, adopted by the Second World Red Cross Red Crescent Conference on Peace in 1984. Although the term peace is a wide concept, the movement sees peace not just as the absence of war, but as a dynamic process of cooperation among all states and peoples.
A dynamic process of cooperation amongst all states and peoples. Cooperation is based on people's capacity to listen to one another, and this is exactly what Geneva-based artist Hugo Emy expressed in his sculpture that he created especially for the prize. You can see it now on screen and on stage to your right. Hugo Emy co-constructed this work of art with young asylum seekers who chose peace images from the ICRC archives. He was also very inspired by the story of his great-grandparents who fled Spain, and further inspired by numerous conversations he had with passers-by in the neighborhood where he created this work of art.
Wisdom and respect. These are certainly two qualities recognized and praised by the Red Cross and Red Crescent Prize for Peace and Humanity. It is our pleasure to welcome on stage the chair of the Standing Commission, George Weber, to announce the award recipient.
Thank you very much, Anissa and Pascal, for that introduction. Red Cross friends and colleagues, honored guests, good evening. Masahel, buenas tardes, bonsoir. I am very pleased to announce that the Red Cross Red Crescent Prize for Peace and Humanity is awarded to His Excellency Dr. Mohammed El-Hadid. As the Master of Ceremony has mentioned just now, this is the fourth time that the Peace Award is awarded since its creation in 1987. I want to add that this is, however, the first time that it is awarded to an individual. I should note that Dr. El-Hadid's nomination was put forward by several national societies, including the Palestinian Red Crescent Society and the Mogdom David Adom. I now have the pleasure to present to you the citation to Dr. El-Hadid, and I would ask Dr. El-Hadid to join me here on the stage. The citation of the tribute to Dr. Hadid reads as follows. Dr. Mohammed El-Hadid has shown remarkable steadfastness, commitment to the principles and values of the movement, and courage in reaching out to sister societies in humanity, peace, and fellowship. He started his 4-decade commitment to the movement by managing several Jordanian National Red Crescent Society operations. This kindled a passion for peace building, prompting him to serve on the movement's Peace Commission. Dr. El-Hadid played a leading role in movement operations during the 1990-91 Gulf War, earning him deep appreciation within the movement and friends in the national societies. It was he who persuaded the Magham David Adom in Israel and the Palestinian Red Crescent Society to meet for the first time. Under his skillful chairmanship, the 29th International Conference of the Red Cross and Red Crescent recognized the two societies and admitted them to the movement. Dr. El-Hadid's personal commitment was indispensable to closing that chapter, leading to a more unified movement. Dr. El-Hadid continues to encourage peace and harmony within the movement by helping parties find common ground in the Middle East, in Cyprus, in another difficult context. Under Dr. El-Hadid's guidance, the Jordan National Red Crescent Society has helped Jordan host an unprecedented number of refugees, contributing to stability in the region. He has enabled Palestinians to travel to Jordan for treatment, facilitated the delivery of medicines to Gaza, and negotiated for the lifting of blockades and release of humanitarian workers. He continues to promote peace in the Middle East through civil society activities, calling on Arabs and Jews to tear down the walls of distrust and suspicion. For his contribution to peace in our movement and in the Middle East, the Standing Commission of the Red Cross and Red Crescent has unanimously agreed to award Dr. Mohammed El-Hadid the Red Cross and Red Crescent Prize for Peace and Humanity. I would like to invite Dr. El-Hadid to share his remarks with us. Dr. El-Hadid, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman of the Standing Commission, Your Excellencies, members of my extended family in the Red Cross Red Crescent movement, Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you. In the Middle East, this is our daily greeting when we cross paths with a friend or a stranger. It infers benevolence, trust, and the absence of malice, and serves as a constant reminder of our responsibility to establish peace within ourselves first, as then we can only be at peace with others. I'm honored, humbled, and appreciative to be the first individual to receive this prestigious Peace and Humanity Prize. I'm overwhelmed with gratitude to have the work that I am so passionate about recognized. I hope that this recognition of my work can serve as an inspiration to others, as I have been inspired by His Majesty, the late King Hussein, and His Majesty King Abdullah II, who taught us to keep an open mind to the rich diversity of mankind, and that intercultural respect is not an option for us, it's an obligation. This accomplishment is not something that I should take the credit for alone, and there are so many others that deserve to share this prize with me. I'm grateful to those who nominated and supported my nomination. I would like to thank my family, my colleagues in my national society, and my colleagues in the Standing Commission and the Secretariat of the Standing Commission. And in particular, I would like to thank the Palestinian Red Crescent, MDA, the Cyprus Red Cross, and the North Turkish Cypriot Red Crescent. Also, I should mention my dear friend, Dr. Yunus Al-Khatib, Janet Davidson, Dr. Freddie Peterson, the late Philippe Cuvillier, the late Zoe Catevas Desclavos, Sir Nicholas Young, and Helena Cornonen. I'm proud of the humanitarian role my country, Jordan, plays in promoting peace in the region and beyond. Jordan, which is an island of stability in an ocean of violence, adopted an open-door border policy, and refugees have been crossing Jordan's border from Palestine, Iraq, and Syria since 1948, along with refugees from Yemen, Lebanon, Sudan, Somalia, and Bosnia. As of 2015, 40% of people that you meet in the streets in Jordan are non-Jordanians. Growing up, I never accepted injustice, inequality, and oppression, and I hated seeing the horror of people suffering. Now we can hardly look at the history of mankind without noticing how frequently we hurt one another. It is heartbreaking to learn that the last century was the bloodiest ever documented, witnessing more atrocities, the killing of innocent civilians, and above all, the assassination of reason and humanity. Yet it's neither written in our genes nor in our stars that we are destined to repeat our mistakes and not learn from history. The ongoing conflict between the Israelis and Arabs is one of the greatest tragedies of our time. There has been much pain, too many rationalizations for hardening of the heart and growing oblivious to the suffering of the adversary. Many people have lost all hope that these two Semitic peoples who believe in the same God can ever live together in harmony. Our world is like our mind. It exactly becomes and only what we make of it. As we increase our awareness for one another, taking an interest in the other's culture, legitimacy, existence, reality, and true identity, a wonderful thing begins to happen. We begin to care for the other as if the other is part of us. Remember, there will be no peace without economic and social development. Harmonious integration between all countries is indispensable in order to reduce the gap between the rich and deprived countries, in order to eliminate existing disparities which are factors of instability and tension. We can contribute to peace by developing understanding, strengthening friendship, collaboration, and mutual assistance between organizations, and investing in youth. A young mind is receptive to the change and ready to accept new ideas. This should be encouraged. Youth is the future generation, and any investment in youth made now will yield untold riches in the future. Apparently, we need an enemy to mobilize people. If we need an enemy, then that enemy can be defined now. It is ignorance, social injustice, hunger, poverty, hatred, terrorism, homelessness, illness, and the list is endless. We need to humanize our societies by moving from a world governed by the law of force that violates humanitarian values to a world governed by the force of law. This will lead to a human future in which humanity will enjoy security and stability, and establishing a culture of responsibility rather than a culture of impunity. I conclude by a well-known saying from Prophet Muhammad's cousin, may peace be upon him, Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. He said, people are of two types. They are either your brothers in faith or your equals in humanity. This is the magic of life that our ancient religions and philosophies have bid us to see, the invisible filament of interconnectedness which bind us together in love and appreciation. I'm really appreciative of being honored tonight by this very good prize. It will just be an incentive for me to work even harder. I thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thank all that were the reason for me being awarded this prize. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. El-Hadid, for those inspiring comments, and congratulations once again. Now I'll turn the podium back over to Pascal and Anissa.
It looks like we are back where we started, where everything started, with a vision that still determines our work today.
Absolutely. And if I may share, a few months ago, before I started my work as director of the International Red Cross and Red Crescent Museum, I read A Memory of Solferino again. I was extremely impressed and moved by so many aspects of this visionary work, and a few sentences towards the end of the book have stayed in mind ever since. Explaining that humanitarian work has to be carried out by the public, Henri Dunant writes, and I quote, "The imploring appeal must therefore be made to men and women of all countries and of all classes, to the mighty ones of this world and to the poorest workmen and women. For all can, in one way or another, each in his or her own sphere or within his or her own limitations, do something to help the good work forward."
And the recipients of the Henri Dunant Medal did exactly that.
Thank you, Anissa. This year, the Henri Dunant Medal is awarded to 3 individuals for their outstanding services to the movement. First, I would like to invite Dr. Mario Villarreal-Lander to come to the stage to receive his medal. Mario, por favor. I'm now happy to share with you the citation of the tribute to Dr. Villarreal. Dr. Mario Villarreal-Lander is well known to many of us. He is a lawyer by profession and a professor of law. He joined the Venezuelan Red Cross at the age of 20, which started his lifelong journey in the Red Cross and Red Crescent movement, which continues today. He served as president of the Venezuelan Red Cross Society, as Secretary General of the Inter-American Committee of the Red Cross, and as President of the League of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies. Under his leadership, the League became known as the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies. During his 10-year tenure as President of the International Federation, Dr. Villarreal saw a long list of achievements, such as the updating of the Federation's constitution, the signing of a new headquarters agreement with the Swiss Confederation, and the obtaining of permanent observer status at the UN, and the list goes on. He was a tireless traveler, visiting many member national societies and field operations. He has been honored with many state and national society awards over the years for his services and commitment. After leaving the International Federation, Dr. Villarreal refocused on his national society, which in recent years has acted as a stabilizing force in Venezuela. Braving seemingly insurmountable obstacles, he played a vital role in ensuring the delivery of emergency aid. A charismatic and courageous leader, hailed by many for his determination and his ability to motivate others, Dr. Villarreal is esteemed by many colleagues in the movement. For his commitment and contribution to the development and promotion of the movement's fundamental principles and ideals, the Standing Commission of the Red Cross and Red Crescent agreed to award the Henri Dunant Medal, the movement's highest distinction, to Dr. Mario Villarreal-Lander. solamente voy a mirar Dr. Villarreal, can invite you to say a few words, a message of acceptance of the award. Por favor, Mario.
Señor George Weber, presidente de la Comisión Permanente.
George Weber, President of the Standing Commission of the Movement. Dear colleagues and friends, I'd like to start these words by expressing my gratitude to the Red Cross of Haiti and its president, Dr. Jean-Pierre Guiteau, because that was the national society that put my name forward to receive the Henry Dunant Medal. I'd also like to thank those members of the Standing Commission of the movement who voted favorably for this to be awarded to me. I'd like to offer my recognition to my wife and children for the permanent support they've given me for more than 50 years so that I could dedicate a good part of my life to our very dear movement. I would like to recall at this moment those who inspired my work for the Red Cross and Red Crescent, and in particular my father, Miguel Villarreal, Pedro Manrique Lander, and Enrique de la Mata Gorobsicial. Thanks to them, wherever they may be. I'd like to give thanks to my colleagues for so many struggles within the movement and the international arena, and in particular my very dear, always head of my office, Yolanda Campolini, and my son, Miguel Villarreal Serralta. I'd like to express my recognition to Mr. Francesco Roca, the leader of our movement, for his efforts and support, both to the Venezuelan Red Cross and also to my country in the very difficult times we are experiencing. I receive with humility this award, which comes from the international movement of the Red Cross and Red Crescent, and it brings together 192 countries across the world. And I dedicate this to the Red Cross volunteers in Venezuela, who have raised once more on behalf of our institution, and they have assisted us with the entry of humanitarian aid to Venezuela, that beautiful country that I'm proud to have been born in. I'd like to take this opportunity, this unique opportunity, to send a message of unity to the movement. Unity which can only be possible, first of all, in the extent that each and every one of the national societies which are members of it can live together with the dignity and respect which is deserved without differentiating the resources that each one has. And secondly, that the international components work on a level playing field with equality and don't take over the space of any others. And secondly, that the volunteers continue to always work strictly following the fundamental principles of our philosophy: humanity, impartiality, neutrality, independence, the voluntary nature, unity, and universality. And I would like to conclude by saying that for more than 50 years, I have been a volunteer of the movement, and I have worked following the guiding principles of neutrality, impartiality, and independence. And this has allowed me to have never been active for any political party and to have never received benefits from any government in my country or any other country. I'd like to thank everyone, and long live Venezuela.
Muchas gracias, Dr.
Thank you
por su mensaje.
for your message.
Felicitaciones otra vez.
and congratulations once more.
The second Henri Dunant Medal is awarded to Dr. Manuela Cabero Moran of the Spanish Red Cross. Dr. Cabero, may I ask you to come to the stage to receive your medal? Por favor, Manuela. I have the pleasure now to present to you the citation of the tribute to Dr. Cabero. For nearly 25 years, Dr. Manuela Cabero Moran has brought medical care to people facing war and disaster, using her own time in parallel to her work as a full-time anesthesiologist. At the height of the Balkan conflict, she volunteered with Doctors of the World in Bosnia. With the Spanish Red Cross, she provided medical aid in Kosovo, and during the Iraq War, she treated the wounded in Baghdad. Soon after working with the International Federation's first medical team treating Ebola patients in Sierra Leone, Dr. Cabero went to care for refugees on the Greek islands. In addition to working in the field, she helped to develop and promote the Healthcare in Danger project, drawing on her vast field experience and qualification in medical ethics. Dr. Cabero has served as Vice President of the Spanish Red Cross and is still an active volunteer today. Her efforts to save life demonstrate her dedication to the humanitarian ideals, her compassion, her determination, her courage in the face of risk and adversity, and her warm human touch are an inspiration to all who meet her. For her contribution to saving lives and for unwavering commitment to the promotion of the movement's fundamental principles and ideals, the Standing Commission of the Red Cross and Red Crescent agreed to award the Henri Dunant Medal, the movement's highest distinction, to Dr. Manuela Cabero Moran. Perfecto. Please, you have the floor.
Very well. I am very nervous. Good afternoon, everyone. My dear friends, because all of you here are my dear friends. I know 90% of you, and many of you know me. First of all, I'd like to thank those who put me forward for this prize. I don't know how they came to think of that, but they did so. And of course, I'd like to thank the Standing Commission who have awarded it to me. I really don't think I'm deserving of this distinction. In my case, nothing of what may seem exceptional is exceptional. It's simply the fruit and the results of life and the opportunities that my profession as a doctor and my training have allowed me to do. My private concerns have enabled me to take part in one of the most beautiful experiences and adventures that a human being can take part in, collaborating with humanitarian aid. I'm aware that the award I received today could very well go to the majority of those here present, because you all have a professional, personal, and human path which deserves the greatest praise and which, of course, is deserving of the prize I have been awarded today. However, I should be doubly grateful. I accept this medal with a great deal of gratitude, with a great deal of humility, because we all know humility is the first thing that is learnt in the humanitarian field. And I accept it with a great deal of emotion and joy on behalf of all the workers and volunteers of the Red Cross and Red Crescent who, throughout this vast world, make efforts on a daily basis to achieve a better world, working to preserve human dignity. And on behalf of all of those who have lost their lives on humanitarian missions, and above all, I receive it on behalf of all the people whose existence and human and material development is threatened by catastrophes, wars, and hunger. And I'm also speaking on behalf of all of them. And I want to conclude by saying that my national society, the Spanish Red Cross, had a slogan which recently disappeared from the facade of our institution, but which said, "Thanking the people. Thank goodness you are there." Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, Manuela.
Thank you very much, Manuela, for your message. Congratulations once more.
The third and last Henri Dunant Medal this year goes to Michael Meyer of the British Red Cross. Michael, please come to the stage to receive your medal. I'm pleased to read to you the citation of the tribute to Michael Meyer. Michael Meyer has given our movement almost 4 decades of outstanding service in the fields of international humanitarian law and policy. He has guided governments and national societies alike on the Geneva Conventions and their additional protocols, contributing to the United Kingdom's ratification of the additional protocols and to legislation related to humanitarian law. An active protector of the movement's emblems, he contributed to the processes of adopting the Red Crystal and of admitting the Magam David Adom in Israel and the Palestinian Red Crescent Society to the movement. Mr. Meyer founded the Commonwealth Red Cross and Red Crescent Conference on International Humanitarian Law, the European Network of National Society Legal Advisors, and a summer school on humanitarian law at the University of Cambridge. And I know he also did a lot on the African continent in that regard also. Many movement initiatives and processes, including the International Conference, have long benefited from his commentaries, his contributions, and his ability to motivate others. Known for his legendary humility and kindness, he always shares his knowledge with enthusiasm and is a trusted friend and mentor to many, setting an inspiring example through his work ethic and his generosity to younger generations. For his unwavering commitment and service to the development and promotion of the movement's fundamental principles and ideals, the Standing Commission of the Red Cross and the Red Crescent agreed to award the Henri Dunant Medal, the movement's highest distinction, to Michael Meyer. Michael, would you like to say a few words? You can take a look at your the certificate.
Thank you very much.
But I'm going to put it away, though.
Okay. Mr. Weber and members of the Standing Commission, Your Excellencies, friends and colleagues, as many of you will know, I stammer. Consequently, I shall be trying to speak slowly. Growing up in Los Angeles, California, I was 8 years old when John F. Kennedy, in his inaugural address, made his famous call to public service. I remember so well listening to that speech. Truly, from that moment, I was inspired to follow the path of public service. In my teenage years, there was great division in America. I wished to do something to help bring people together. In my Red Cross and Red Crescent career, I have found a way to contribute to both objectives. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke of a time when people will be judged by the content of their character, by their abilities, rather than on race or other irrelevant matters. I have been so fortunate as a person with a disability to have been given the opportunities I have. Our movement was founded on acceptance of diversity and inclusivity. The Red Cross and Red Crescent, international humanitarian law, are about hope, unity, and our common humanity. I have been privileged to feel a calling for my movement work, to receive a medal for doing what one loves is a bonus. I wish to end by thanking the British Red Cross and all those who supported my nomination and with whom I have worked throughout the years. So long as we remain true to who we are, I am sure that together the movement
meant all of us here this evening will continue to make a positive and a practical difference to people in need and serve as a beacon and reassurance to our world. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, for those inspiring comments, and congratulations once again. I turn the podium back over to you folks. Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we are now approaching the end of our ceremony, but also the beginning on a very interesting and exciting week ahead. Pascal and I are very thrilled to welcome you in our city, Geneva. During your stay, we invite you to discover Geneva through its humanitarian history and legacy, thanks to a fascinating urban trail, which was especially designed for the conference. It gives you the opportunity to take a humanitarian journey through the history of the Red Cross as you immerse yourself in the city. You can do it when you wish, or easily register here at the conference center for guided group tours, which will take place on Monday, December the 9th.
Thank you, Anissa. Now, a question to you. Did you notice that you all received a postcard in your welcome bags? You can see them here now on the screen. They're all reproductions of posters that are kept in the museum collections. Some of you received a blank postcard, and we invite you to use it, to send it to someone you care about, and perhaps share with this person why being here today and this week really matters to you on a personal level. The card will take the time it needs to arrive, and that's the beauty of it. Others received a postcard with a handwritten personal message in an envelope. If you haven't opened the envelope yet, I invite you to do so now. A few weeks ago, the museum teamed up with the conference organizers and the Geneva State Department of Education to give the opportunity to hundreds of school children here in Geneva to send you a personal message. They talked about the work of the Red Cross and Red Crescent movement with their teachers, and they were invited to share with you their questions, their hopes, their concerns about the future in a very personal way, as we're going to see now in a short film.
So let us look now into the future after having traveled through the history of the movement thanks to the museum's beautiful collection of cards. To conclude tonight's ceremony, we are going to read you two messages from school children in Geneva which Pascal and I selected among the hundreds cards that we received. To read them with us, we invite all the award-giving authorities and the awardees to join us on stage, please.
I think we can give them a round of applause. So. Perfect.
Stand in line, marking time, waiting for the welfare dime. 'Cause they can buy a job. The man the six at Harry's bias that catches a poor lady's eyes.
Please come in. Thank you. We're all going to stand as a group. Wonderful. So, Anissa.
So I'm going to read the first message in French, its original language. Je vous remercie.
I thank you for helping all the injured people in the world. I hope my card will motivate you to continue doing good around you. I want you to know that you're all examples. Thank you.
And now on to the second message we chose, which I'm going to start in French. Je souhaiterais que le monde soit guéri.
I would like for the world to be healed.
El mundo fuera sanado.
I would like the world to be healed.
Atamana shifa hada el alam.
So all the posters you've seen, yes, I think we can give a big... The posters you've seen this evening are all currently on view at the International Red Cross and Red Crescent Museum, which is your museum. So my team who is here with me and I would be extremely honored and happy to welcome you during your stay in Geneva. It has been a true honor for Anissa and myself to guide you through tonight's ceremony. Now we invite you to attend a cocktail reception, which is offered by the IFRC and the ICRC. It will take place on the first level of this building. And we thank you for your very kind attention. And good night. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Please.
Thank you. Thank you and congratulations again.
That's just